Hi, this is Randall with Carter Hill Honeybees. Today's Wednesday, May the 5th, 2021. Although I'm probably about 2 weeks late, I'm going around and putting foundations, checking the progress of my colonies, see how they're doing on honey production. I'm probably 2/3 of the way through right now, and really pleased with what I've seen to this point. I can tell a big difference in the way my bees are storing their honey. They're filling the supers more, I guess you could say, more thoroughly. Less chimney effect. Most of my production colonies has got 3, probably 4 supers on them now that's partially capped. Some of them nearly fully capped, and even some of my splits has got a couple of supers of honey on them that overwintered. So I want to take this hive down and just kind of show a few frames how it looks, and just so you can kind of see what it looks like. So up to this point, this is what I've been seeing. After I shook the bees down below the excluder, I had brood left here. What I'm seeing is and I'm really happy that this is happening this way. It seems like the bees are starting right at the top of where the brood nest was at, and they started filling in right there with honey, and they're working up and also back filling down at the same time. That's what I'm seeing. And there's still some empty cells down here, so I'm assuming probably they're leaving that for a place to dump the nectar as it comes in. So like I say, I'm really well pleased. The bees are definitely feeling the supers better. Very optimistic about the honey crop I got going so far this year. So let's take this hive down, and I want to show you what I'm talking about. This super here feels like it's about 2/3 or more full of honey. So I'm going to just pick one out of random here. This is the 3rd frame over, so this frame is almost entirely full of nectar and honey. You can see some of the bees are depositing it in there now, but this is looking very good. This is ready for a super foundation for sure. So I'll get the 3rd frame from the other end. And this is basically the same story. Almost entirely full. They don't have this capped yet, but it's pretty full. We'll pull one out in the middle here. I can see a little bit of white wax down there, and they're starting to cap it a little bit up here. It's absolutely lovely. It's looking like a great honey production year. This one is about the same weight, and they're just starting to cap it too. So these cells are about 2/3 of the way full of honey. So this is looking really good. Now right here I'm 2 frames above the excluder, and this is what I was talking about at the beginning. They're filling the outside with nectar, and here where their brood emerged several weeks ago, they're pretty much leaving that empty, although there's some wet nectar in there. So I'm guessing what's happening here, they're depositing the nectar there and then processing it through the evening and overnight and moving it up to store for honey. So that's my guess as to what's going on here. But very pleased with that. This colony is in really good shape. So I'm going to try to entice the bees to draw some more foundation. So I'm going to checkerboard in just a couple of frames per super. I'll remove the 3rd frame in from each side, and I'll scoot the drawn out comb over close to it. Hopefully they'll draw it out correctly. This one over here, I'll take out the 4th one from the side. on this third one here. I'll get the second one in from the outside just to kind of change it up. Get the drawn outs pushed up against the foundations. Hopefully they'll draw that out correctly. And I'll come back to the third one from the outside on this top one here. So that's going to leave me 2 foundations in this very top one. So all these is pretty much full of honey. I'll go ahead and put my super back together. Now once again, I should have been doing this a couple of weeks ago. I just kind of got behind. Now getting to it. Fortunately, only a couple of my colonies was pretty much full and had a lot of bird comb on top of the super, so I'm pretty fortunate I got away with it this time. So there we go. I tore this down, showed a few frames to you, and I checkerboarded in a super foundation. That's probably the hard way to do it. But when they're this high, that's the way I'm doing it this time. If they're a little bit shorter, I'm just simply putting it on top. So I'm trying both ways to see which one's going to work the best and the easiest. So I'll demonstrate one of the shorter colonies here now. So right here's one of my splits from last summer that overwintered in a 5-frame nuke. And it's put on a pretty good bit of weight, so let's see how it's looking. Oh yeah. I'm really a little bit late, but I'm almost just a little bit too late with this one. Yeah, they're capping this one pretty good. Beautiful. So this colony started out to spring in a 5-frame nuke, and it's got 2 full supers of honey on it right now. It's ready for a foundation. So they've capped this one up pretty nice. Another one. So this one's just almost ready for extraction. So let me grab a super foundation and put on here. So since this one's only got 2 supers on it, I kind of want to see, which I've had a lot of success with this in the past, but with the queen excluder and the Healthier Bees, I still want to see if they'll come up through here and draw out this foundation on top. So that's the way I'm going to try it this time. So here's another of my overwintered splits. It's doing okay. It's not as far along as the other one we just looked at. Matter of fact, there's no honey in that super at all, I don't believe. Yep. But this super down here is pretty full. Like they're capping it off pretty good. Looks great. I may have misjudged it. I see more bees over here, so let's. No, they're not working up here yet, but they're about to start. So I'll leave this as is. I won't put a foundation on this yet. I'll come back around in a week or so and add it when it needs it. So here's another colony. This is the 5th medium up from the high body. 1, 2, 3. And that's the 5th medium above the queen excluder. Sorry about that. Pretty much full of honey. They're capping in here. Colony's in real good shape. I should get at least 5 or maybe 6 mediums of honey off of this one. So I just took the inner cover off of this one. This one is packed to the top. This is the colony I done one of my first videos on, first inspections of the year back in early March. But this super here looks like it's pretty full. I'm fixing to take it off and show it. So this is the 5th medium above the queen excluder, and yep, it's full. Whew. That is a good super right there. It's not fully capped, but it is absolutely packed with honey. And it's packed wall to wall, and that's what I was talking about earlier. I can see the difference from my healthier bees that I got my mites under control. I mean, I'm seeing a huge difference from last year, from years past. I mean, this made the 5th, and just look at this. Oh, that was just as full. So down here I can already tell this one is not as full. It's getting there, but again, they're leaving the center. Well, there's not much left there, but they're kind of filling the perimeter in like I talked about earlier, so I'm happy with that. I've definitely learned some new stuff this year. Yeah, that's almost as heavy as those first two. And I can tell this is a little bit lighter, but this frame's still probably 2/3 of the way full. So I'm going to stack all this back up to the top and put a foundation on. Yep. Outstanding. And if you're wondering why I'm not checkerboarding these in, I just want to try 2 or 3 different ways and see which one's going to work the best. I know this is definitely the easiest way to do it. I've demonstrated the progress of some of my honey production colonies. I've still got 7 more to go through, but out of the 32 that I've went through so far, I believe it's 32, 33, I have found one that I believe has swarmed. It's definitely down on population, and plus the property owner told me yesterday he saw a swarm fly over you last week, so, and I believe he was right in what he saw. But it still had a couple supers of honey on it, so it's going to ding it some, but maybe not too bad. It looked like it was still had a decent amount of bees in it. But so far, none of the others have shown any evidence of swarming. And if they have, it's not been enough to really affect the honey production. So kind of to recap everything, I come around the 1st of March and done my checkerboarding nectar management technique. And then I come back around towards the end of March, shook the bees down, I kind of let them build their brood nest up in here, shook the bees down, installed the queen excluder, and then put the brood back on top, and then added some more empty drawn outs. The bees emerged. They've had a place to dump nectar. They started storing honey up here. And also they was utilizing these 2 boxes better. It was pretty empty down there, so I'm well pleased with those results so far. They seem to be making their honey right here and moving up and down with it, so they're filling the supers out more thoroughly. And something else I've noticed, and I kind of wonder if they're tied together, is this year I'm not seeing hardly any small hive beetles in my colonies at all. Just maybe, I don't think I've seen more than 3 or 4 in any of them. And today I just went through about 12, this afternoon I should say. I think I seen 3 or 4 hive beetles on one colony, and it was immediately under the telescoping top. It was not inside the brood chamber. So it kind of makes me wonder, since small hive beetles seem to feed off of stress, if the reduced stress of the reduced amount of mites I have in my colonies has also had an unexpected side impact of less small hive beetles, because I put absolutely nothing in my colonies for small hive beetles. I don't put none of the towels, none of the little oil trays, none of that. And I haven't done none of that stuff for a few years. All the way up to this year, I mean, I would still see 10 or 15 small hive beetles under the inner cover lids. In previous years, I would see anywhere 4, 5, 10, 15 small hive beetles when I would raise the inner cover. But this year, I'm not seeing them hardly at all. So I'm thinking maybe that has to do with getting the mite numbers under control. Either way, yes, it's a little more work to get the mites under control, but from what I'm seeing so far, and I'm pretty much at the 1-year mark of my start of it, very, very well satisfied. It's very well worth the effort and expense to do it. I think I'm going to have probably my best honey production year in my beekeeping career. We're just now getting into the main honey flow, so time will tell on that one, so we'll see when that point gets here. But anyway, this concludes basically my spring management, my swarm prevention, swarm cutoff dates come and gone. The bees is pretty much transitioned to honey storage. So basically from here on out through honey harvest, which the nectar flow is going to end here sometime in June, probably late June, mid-June. But I'll just demonstrate what I'll do. I'll go around once every week to 10 days. Raise the lid, raise the inner cover, and I'll just look down between the frames, and if there's at least 7 of the frames drawn out, then I'll move those outer frames in the middle and put a foundation on all the way up to about June the 10th. I won't add any more foundation after June the 10th. I've never had any drawn out after June the 10th. Well, I appreciate you for joining me for this video today, and we'll see you next time.